That would be
Hey,
super
what's
cool.
up? This is the Sixth Sense Show. I'm DJ Sixth Sense. Thank you so much for checking out the YouTube. Make sure you like and follow and subscribe. Today we have a guest, and I'm going to let the guest introduce herself.
I am Jessica Maldonado. I have known DJ Six Sense for several years now, so we've been friends for a while. I'm a business owner. I also have a full time job, and I've lived in Baltimore, Maryland for about 5 years now.
Okay. All right. So, we're just kind of talking about what's happening right now. So, we we initially wanted to start a conversation about politics, but being that we're so close to DC and all the things going on, um, who do you think is the most interesting politician right now?
I think that's really tough, particularly because we have a lot of politicians that are kind of politically leaning towards certain policies that I feel like a lot of Americans don't necessarily support.
Ah, that's another really good question too.
I think Maryland does have some political leaders that are in line with my personal political views, but I think it would kind of depend specifically on which topic we're talking about.
And that would be my next question. What do you think is the biggest topic that needs to be focused on right now, in your opinion?
I think that it is a very tough time. I think that most people in America are having a really, really hard time financially. I think that would be a large part of the next election. A lot of people are going to be considering how we can improve on the economy or how we can better support families in this particular economy, whether that's giving them, tax cuts when tax time comes around, or if we're actually talking about giving them some type of subsidized help from the government. It would just kind of depend on, who has the better plan. Personally, I'm really connected to the idea of political leaders that are standing against the support of Israel right now. I think
Ooh.
that's a really tough topic. I think a lot of people are kind of picking sides based on that particular crisis, and that is going to affect how people vote in the next election.
You said a mouthful there, because in regards to like the idea of dealing with what makes the most sense, when we had the previous president, he cut a whole bunch of stimulus checks and gave people stimulus checks, and myself, I was afraid to take the stimulus check because I felt like there was a catch to it. I felt like there couldn't be any free money that was going to be given, and I felt like either there was going to be, it would be taxed, and I would end up having to pay that same amount of tax on the money that was given in the stimulus, or that there would be some sort of catch if you took the money. So I never took it. But in regards to that, do you think that another round of stimulus would be beneficial? And how were you affected by the stimulus situation?
I think everybody's individual connection to the stimulus situation is, unique to your tax bracket. I
Yeah.
think that, so I think different individuals are going to have very different opinions. I'm not necessarily of the opinion that because a president or any leader, whether it be, state or more local, has the capacity to provide money to the American people, and should be voted on based on that particular category or that criteria.
Yeah.
I think that makes it very challenging. I hear a lot of people talking about how they want to support Trump because Trump gave us money. I think that that's a very ridiculous aspect to
Yeah.
vote on strictly. I do think that there are a lot of things that need to change. A lot of reform needs to happen. I think that we do need to rein in some of the levels of capitalism that we're currently experiencing. But I think that is going to be challenging because, unfortunately, the powers that be are the ones that lobby against the laws that protect middle America, right? And so I think that
Absolutely.
that's always going to be a fight. But we have seen that, younger generations are less tolerant to laws and policies that don't positively impact them and don't align with the support that they feel like they should be receiving. So it'll be very interesting to see how people vote this next year.
Yeah, I've run into a lot of folks who say that the race is kind of it's not important who you vote for because it's like the lesser of two evils, with both candidates being within 5 years of age and both being above 70.
Yeah.
It's very hard to find either candidate relatable. So how do you feel like the candidates are doing being relatable?
I think that finding political leaders that are going to be relatable is probably an unachievable goal. And the reason why I say
Yeah.
that is because oftentimes when we're electing people into office, they're already in a position where they're outside of the tax bracket of the people that they're mostly supporting, right?
That's true.
So any political leader that's put in that position already has campaign funds behind them in addition to whatever other funds that they had prior to their campaign. And typically, people aren't starting from the ground up in a political race. Oftentimes, they're coming from a leapfrog situation, meaning that they would start typically, not always, but typically, they would start somewhere else in in political leadership, whether that be a mayor or a governor. Some people are saying that the previous Maryland governor is going to run for presidency, not this election, but the next election. And so typically, because that's the way it works, these campaign funds continue to grow over time. So they're not in the same tax bracket as us.
Very
Considering
much so.
their financial situation, I just don't think that they can be relatable to the American people. I would also say that I think that there should be a cutoff age for individuals that we're electing into certain offices. I also think there should be term limits. The idea that we're allowing people that, were around for, were 30 years old prior to World War II and are still in political leadership is crazy. That's probably an exaggeration or a hyperbole. The point is, I think in order for us to have more relatable individuals in politics, it would require more people that are younger to stand up and start that process in their local leadership, whether that be, city or state. I think that's the only way we're actually going to be able to back people up with the experience that they've had in leadership, but also, put them in a position where they can run for higher levels of elected office.
Okay, that is really needed. Like the young people being involved is critical and key
Yeah.
to make change. So let's switch gears. Let's talk music. I want to pick your brain, and I
God.
want you. I want you to give us your top 5 artists of all time.
Oh my God, we've already done this. That's so hard.
It is hard, but here's the thing. These folks have not heard this conversation.
That's true,
So-
because it wasn't much of a conversation.
I think it was a great conversation.
I think that that's really, really tough. I think that part of it is because I grew up on old school music. My parents played old school music all
and
the time.
this is your top 5.
Agreed. I think that if I had to pick off the top of my head, I would say Ella Fitzgerald. I would say Nina Simone. I would say Michael Jackson.
Okay.
I would say, trying to think. There's some people fighting in my head now.
Yeah, you have 3 so far. So.
I would say Louis Armstrong.
Okay. Wow. One
And
more.
then I would say Oh, that's tough. Whitney Houston.
That's a tough list there. Because I know.
Ranges all over the place.
But the beautiful thing is it opens mental doors for folks who may have never heard of Ella Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
some people don't know, the range that Michael Jackson has put out of music.
It's true.
So,
Very true.
like someone recently was saying that their favorite Michael Jackson album was Bad. And I was like, wow. There was a lot of things on the Bad album, but I can't imagine picking that over like one of the older ones. And I mean, it's all just perspective.
He had really great music. I would say that it's tough because it's also based on what you've been exposed to, right? Like you were saying, somebody that has a wide knowledge of, a wide or a broad stroke of kind of all music, I think is going to have probably a different opinion than somebody that kind of grew up on a specific album or had a specific album played in their home when they were children. And I think that, that's going to have an impact on the way that they see that particular album. Sometimes it's really about nostalgia opposed to that actually being the most quality album that was put out by that particular artist.
True.
So
I might have a little advantage musically, and I don't think
a little, just a little, just a smidge.
So let's switch to something that I definitely don't have an advantage at.
Okay.
And that's movies. What do you think? What are your top 5 favorite movies to watch? We're getting deep into
we are
your mind.
I typically love space movies.
Okay.
So I would say, Prometheus.
Okay.
Gravity. Interstellar. That soundtrack alone is like incredible. Let's see. What other ones did I like? I liked Arrival. A lot of people didn't like that one.
I haven't seen it.
It was. I thought it was really good. One more. Gosh, this is so tough.
Are you picking from several, or are you just trying to think of the one that stands out the most?
I'm trying to think of the one that stands out the most in my mind. Because ADHD, the way that works.
But that's pretty regular. All
Yeah.
of us have a level.
Ooh.
I could take 4.
know.
4 is fine.
Yeah, I really love like sci-fi and space movies. I'm trying to think of like a different thriller that I really like, but
Okay.
I'll come up with another one.
So, let's say you get a text message from Elon, and he says that I have some room. I think he runs SpaceX, right? So he says I have some room on the next shuttle going up to the moon. Are you going?
No.
No?
No.
So you love space movies, but you wouldn't
Correct.
get on a shuttle? Why not?
I love space movies, but it requires so much training to go into space. I also think that humans idealize the things that they love or romanticize these ideas of the things that they enjoy. And that doesn't necessarily equal you having a great experience. I don't like the idea of like, I think there's a very thin margin for error in space. You could do all the things right and it could still be a very, very dangerous and tumultuous situation. I think that I don't think space is for me, despite the awe and incredible images and the incredible facts that we learn about space, how it's constantly expanding. And I was looking at something today that was talking about the measurement and sizes in comparison from one galaxy to another, and the sizes of like their sun compared to our sun, and how our sun seems very large, but to others it's extremely small. So yeah, I like that. I don't want to be in it. There's a big difference.
So you like the science more, or
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the fact that, with movies that are about sci-fi, you're creating an environment that brings you to another world that is still created by us. So it's still within the imagination of humans, right?
Okay.
Whereas there are many things in space that we could eventually one day maybe encounter that are outside of the realm of anything that makes sense to us, right? And so it
Yeah.
requires so much just to understand those things.
Yes.
So it's cool to kind of play around in sci-fi and be able to see different versions of different worlds and the interaction between, humans and potentially other creatures, but also just different environments. I think that those are really cool.
So, I have another question for you in regards to movies.
Okay.
Now, I recently found out that the government actually has a film budget department where they actually sponsor money to filmmakers to make certain kinds of movies.
Okay.
So, do you think that the government uses that influence to put messages in certain movies to reach people?
I can't speak to that. I would say that I think in any form of government, there will be aspects of propaganda. And I think that that should be expected regardless of what government we're speaking
I
about.
didn't want to use the word propaganda because I know a lot of times when people hear propaganda, they think 1970s, 1960s. It's a real old school word, but it fits. Well, let's take it a step back. Let's
Okay.
say that not necessarily the government, but do you think that there are influences in movies that try to show people what could be coming in the future?
I think it's very dependent on who is creating the movie and what experience they have. I think that President Obama and his wife recently produced a movie that I feel like can have some insight into, things that people should think about if certain crises were to happen on American soil. I think that when you have that experience, you can absolutely use that to influence the direction of any produced film or short film or story. I think that, to your point earlier, I think that I would add that, or your question earlier, I think that I would add that it's also probably in the benefit of the government to have input into certain aspects of movies to ensure that certain, I don't want to say secrets, but certain certain parts of information or data, even proprietary information based
Okay.
on certain designs aren't being released
Okay.
in film. So I think that that may be part of it. I don't know. Obviously, we're speculating here, but
Yeah,
that
I
could be
mean,
possible.
but speculation is fun.
It is, but I just want to be clear that I have no idea. We're guessing.
We're definitely guessing, but I mean, the sad part is when smart people sit down and start making guesses at things, all of a sudden,
You never know.
we could be right. We might have to
Yeah.
pick some lottery numbers because
You never know.
if we win,
Very true.
that'll be it. But all right, so let's take it to something fun.
Okay.
So you have to take 5 vacations,
Okay.
a week each. Where are you going each of those 5 weeks?
Do they have to be in the same continent?
No.
And they just have to be different countries.
No.
They can be the same country.
Sure. Just not the same location.
Correct. I think I would spend 3 of those weeks in Africa.
Okay.
And then I would spend 1 week somewhere tropical, probably Central America. And then 1 week, I would probably go back to Scotland because I had a really good time when I went to Scotland. Scotland or Ireland, one of the two.
Okay, so you got to rein it in. So 3 weeks in Africa. What part of Africa would you start in?
I would probably start in Western Africa.
Okay, like a Ghana. Okay, and then
I think the majority of the places I would go would probably be on the western side of Africa.
you don't want to see Egypt or
I'm not particularly interested. That doesn't mean that there aren't incredible people and culture. I think that if I'm going to Africa, I would want to see things that more closely align with,
your heritage.
yeah, my heritage and my ancestors,
Okay.
and I think that that would be more closely aligned.
Okay, and that tropical. You said somewhere tropical.
Costa
Costa
Rica,
Rica.
Belize, somewhere in Central America.
Okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. You got to pick
Costa Rica.
Costa Rica. Okay, and then Ireland. Is there a particular part?
I really enjoyed Dublin, but Ireland, I would probably branch outside of Dublin. I had a really cool experience when I went several years ago. I did a 2-week trip by myself throughout Europe, and I had a really, really great time. Scotland and Scotland and Ireland were both really incredible. People there are very nice, very friendly, very helpful, courteous. And the scenery, if you step outside of the larger cities, there is just incredibly beautiful. So, had a really great time there.
Okay. So I'm gonna take a magic wand. I'm gonna hand it to you, and now with that wand, you can now change 3 things about the world. What are the
Okay.
3 things you would change about the world with this magic wand? You just wave it, and you change one thing. You wave it again. You change the second thing, and you wave it again, and you change to the third thing.
Okay. I think the first thing I would change. Oh God, that's so hard.
I'll throw one out. I'm gonna wave my wand, and I'm
Okay.
gonna change the work week to 3 days, and you get paid the same amount, but you have 3 days of work.
How many hours?
We're gonna go hard. We're gonna say 10 hours.
I do a 30-hour work week.
Yep, a 30-hour work week, 3 days, 10 hours, but you're off the other 4.
Okay.
So and your wage does not change.
Okay. I like that. I like that. I don't dream of work, so I'm going to go in a different direction.
Hey, absolutely.
I think that so hard. Okay. I would say that education.
Okay.
So I would say that we would completely reform education to ensure that I would say specifically our country, because I can't speak to the education in other countries, but in America, that we would have a curriculum that is a federal curriculum. So it doesn't allow the states to have an impact on how each individual learns based on the state curriculum.
Okay.
I think that would alleviate a lot of the issues that we're currently experiencing. I also think that in order for aspects of textbooks to change, they should have to be approved by organizations of color to ensure that the text is in line with historical context, and that they are not being they're not catering specifically to whatever political agenda that we have right now.
Okay.
I think that that would be extremely beneficial moving forward and allowing children to actually learn about the importance of our history, but also how the political system works, right? I think we're not really educated on the things that are really important. Finance, we're not really taught that. We're not taught how to be responsible with
Okay.
money from a young age. We're not really taught how to vote and how our vote has an impact on
You're right.
different elected officials and what part they play in our lives every day. So I think I would reform education specifically in America to ensure that those things are impacted. That's one. I would say, two, I would say,
I'm gonna cut in line. My second waving of the wand would be, I would get rid of all homelessness.
you were taking it right out of my mouth. That was
Okay.
my other thing. I think that as much money as this country makes, there should never be a homeless person. I think that we need to reform a lot of the what most people consider welfare programs to ensure that they are there for assistance and they are assisting the right individuals. We should not have homeless veterans. We should not have homeless people that lost their job. We should not have children that are hungry. Like, I just feel like homelessness and not having the right nutrients in your body is really important. If we want these people to reintegrate into society, we have to create a system that works for them. So those systems need to be reformed. I would also say that, I think that we need prison reform. I
Okay.
think that there are a lot of things
So-
that we have to adjust,
That's
but
that's your third.
that would be my third.
Prison reform.
Mm-hmm.
How would we reform the prisons?
So one, I don't think that prison should be anything that is used for profit. I also don't think that we should be instituting getting free labor from individuals that we consider not even a part of our society. I think that
fair.
there's a lot of aspects about the prisons specifically in America that are, again, for profit, but they also start children off at a really young age to be, from the school to prison pipeline. I think that that's something that we also need to be looking into, having these police resource officers in the schools when, children of color are being arrested at higher rates before they're even out of high school. There's no reason why we should be arresting 12-year-olds. Now, does that mean that the school is always set up to engage with children that are extremely traumatized or have, maybe mental health issues or disorders? No, I think that we need to resource that as well. But throwing them in prison doesn't solve it either. I think that, or jail, whichever. I think that we need to be more cognizant of how we support people when we want them to be a part of society. If we throw them outside of society and say that they're no longer welcome here, why would we expect them to then behave in a way that would want them to reintegrate into society? I just think that we have to be more conscious of the way that we are, implementing some of the things that we are and supporting the systems that are currently in place.
Okay. So I'm still gonna dig into your brain, and
Yeah.
this one's a little more personal.
Okay.
But what is your 5-year plan?
Okay, so that's a much easier question. My 5-year plan is my business right now. So I currently own a multifamily property. I bought this property 5 years ago in Baltimore, and my goal is to continue to expand that business plan. So the goal right now is to limit the debt that I have this year. So my goal, I've already set up with my CPA. We're working on paying down all of my debt this year, with the exception of obviously my mortgage. I would still have that. And then the goal for next year is to ensure that we are looking at properties that will be another multifamily home to add to that portfolio. Once we do that, then we're going to start planning different retirement solutions. So I changed my retirement plan for this year to assist with my ability to pay off some of the debt. but we'll be reevaluating that next year prior to the property being purchased. And then once that's complete, I would say probably 3 to 4 years out, I want to make sure that I have a property manager that's managing all these properties instead of doing it myself, because it is so much work. Please know that it is so much work to be a property manager. So I do want to outsource that particular responsibility. I've been very fortunate. I've been able to use the VA loan to support my dreams, and it's worked out for me. And I know that not everybody is in a position to buy a home now. So obviously, speaking to the economy earlier and hoping that we can find better ways to pave that road for people, because having assets really does make a difference when it comes to putting yourself in a position financially where you can manage unexpected expenses or unexpected crises, depending on what those things are in each individual person's life.
Definitely. Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap it up, but I want to give you a chance to say anything else that you want to put out into the world about yourself, or just in positive affirmation.
Oh man, that's tough too. I would say that life is a journey of continuous learning. And so for me, even, having moments of frustration or moments of, large obstacles in your way that you don't know how to figure out, I think it's really important to stay motivated about understanding that each lesson in your life is just one more obstacle, and that you have the capacity within you, no matter what you're currently going through, to overcome those obstacles. I think that, I don't consider myself particularly a positive person all the time, but I would say that, having the confidence to know that you can take whatever comes your way is extremely important in continuing to be successful. I didn't, myself and my sister didn't come from, we came from very humble beginnings. And so me and my sister are both now homeowners. We worked very hard to have the things that we have, but that doesn't mean that we experience those things without obstacles. So I think, trying to stay positive and trying to have the confidence to know that you can overcome whatever comes your way is really, really important. And I hope that everybody, can have that in their life.
That's very important. All right. I want to thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
Make sure you tune in next time, because we will be doing this again very soon. We'll be delving into a person that I feel is very interesting and bringing their points of view. So this has been the Sixth Sense Show, and I will see you next time. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, all of those things on the YouTube, which is where our home is.
On the YouTube.
See you next time.